It's one of the most rugged, least known, most intact, most highly biodiverse places in the entire state, and we think it's going to be California's next great conservation story.
You know, this is the highest concentration of golden eagles in the entire United States, in the entire world. This is one of the last islands of wilderness, essentially, that we have in the United States.
What's amazing, we're 20 miles from downtown San Jose and 1,000,000 miles from civilization on one of the tiniest, most beautiful roads in the entire state.
Welcome to the Diablo Range, 150 miles of mysterious mountains most of us have never explored, stretching from near Mount Diablo in the north all the way to Kern County down south. Few people live in the heart of the Diablo Range, and fewer roads cross it. This is the big wild in our backyard, and in 2020, 625 square miles of it burned in the immense SCU complex fires. Thankfully, relatively few human structures and no lives were lost, and nature in this dry and fire-prone landscape is surging back to life. This beautiful spot is called the San Antonio Valley, and it is in the heart of the Bay Area's big wild in the northern reaches of the Diablo Range between Livermore and Mount Hamilton. Well, in the summer of 2020, about 400,000 acres burned all around this spot in the third largest wildfire in California's history. Now in the spring of 2021, the colors of nature on the mend are blooming all around. We venture into the big wild to see some of the spring flower show nature put on here in the wake of the fires, with Seth Adams and Sean Burke with the conservation nonprofit Save Mount Diablo. Since the organization's founding 50 years ago, over 120,000 acres of nature's precious gems on and in the vicinity of Mount Diablo itself have been conserved. Now it's working with many others to save much more deeper in the Diablo Range, which today is only 24% protected.
What I would hope 50, 100 years from now is that there's a string of preserved land from Mount Diablo all the way down to Kern County along the spine of California, and that when people look up at those ridge lines above the many millions, they will know that they are protected.
Our day-long excursion takes us from San Jose to Livermore, stopping along the way to marvel at nature's beauty, resilience, and diversity. We pass over the 4,200-foot summit of Mount Hamilton and soon see the effects of the 2020 fires and nature blossoming once again as we dive deeply into this section of the Diablo Range.
And then when you hit the burned areas, the bright green grass will be your indication of grassland regeneration already happening. And then as you come over into the heart of the Diablo Range, you'll start to see burnt trees and charcoal soils, and you'll see 10, 30, 50% areas that have started regenerating.
Even though we've seen all these things that have been just vaporized, as soon as you stop, you get out of the car, you look down at the creek, there's all this life that's coming back, and you look at the hillsides here, there's all of these vine plants, the manroot specifically, and especially, that has water stored deep down in the earth.
And what people don't get from fires is all those nutrients locked up in the things that burned are supercharging the soil with fertilizer, and even normal wildflowers are going to be spread over wider areas. They're going to be larger in size, bigger in number. But we also have this incredible list of fire followers that only show up after fires. Some, after the Morgan fire, we had plants that had not shown up in 25, 40, 80. One species had not shown up in 125 years. And they were back, and they're whispering bells and fire poppies and golden eardrops. And not only do they show up, but they show up in the millions.
That's one of the cool things about when these fires rage through here, is it's kind of like a reset of the clock. It takes us back to primordial day one in a lot of senses. And so all of these individuals are so specialized and have so evolved to thrive in an environment like this. And those are the things that are really driving us out here right now, is to see exactly what is adapting the best to this environment. The sky's the limit. It's exploring the unknown.
Save Mount Diablo is conducting a 3-year analysis of this recovery from the SCU fire complex called Diablo Range Revealed. What's clear so far is that this was mostly a good fire for nature's wild kingdom of native plants, and animals. Drive slowly out here and be on the lookout for those who live in the neighborhood, often on the go.
The golden eagle might go by. You might see some elk, you might see some antelope. If you get lucky, you see it all in one. There's a lot going on. I think that's what is so incredible about it.
That's why this is the big wild.
Big wild for sure.
The sparse human development in the Diablo Range allows wildlife to travel with unusual freedom across vast and connected natural landscapes, strengthening their populations and capacities to move and adapt to a changing climate and conditions on the ground. More long-term protection can provide more promise for the future.
Yeah, Del Puerto Canyon, that is the jewel. As far as, to me, I've really fallen in love with this place.
Our final stop in the back of the beyond is Del Puerto Canyon, winding 22 miles through the Diablo Range to the Central Valley.
It's an incredibly deep, biodiverse canyon. The soils have made it such that the wildflowers you'll see there are incredible. Birds love this kind of environment, and you know, if you stop and listen for a moment, you can hear incredible songbirds. Roadrunners are a very common thing to see here, and I've seen half a dozen golden eagles or more at a time. And it's also a raven haven, as I like to call it. They're everywhere out here, and it's amazing.
Given its stunning natural values, Seth and Sean are very clear about their vision for the future of the Diablo Range.
You know, to me, this is one of the most important things to be focusing on in the conservation world right now. This is it.
There are some places that are so biodiverse they should be preserved in their own right. But there are also some places that are so fire prone that they shouldn't be built in. We should be avoiding development in the Diablo Range. We should be concentrating preservation here.
When we come back, celebrate a 50-year legacy of saving nature, with more to come. OpenRoad is made possible by the generous support of our underwriters, dedicated to protecting our natural and historical treasures in the Bay Area and beyond. Additional support is provided by these institutions, also caring for our special environmental and cultural legacies and making them accessible to each and every one of us, now and for all time. A Save Mount Diablo has an extraordinary record of achievement to show for itself over the past 50 years, protecting tens of thousands of acres on Mount Diablo itself and all around the northern portion of the range that bears its name. Well, here's a look at some of the lovely lands Save Mount Diablo has protected for nature and for us. To celebrate its first 50 years of protecting nature's treasures, Save Mount Diablo is in the final stages of a major fundraising campaign to provide the resources needed to keep as much of the Diablo Range as possible forever wild. Given its track record so far, and with generous public support, the future for wildness in these mountains and our access to it in the next half-century looks promising. For more information about Save Mount Diablo, Semper Virens Fund, and locations and organizations featured in this show, go to NBCBayArea.com/OpenRoad. Well, that's our show. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm Doug McConnell, and we'll see you next time right here with more discoveries along the open road.